Hello, Bidemi, welcome. Idowu Gideon, welcome. Mufelola, welcome. Rochelle White, long time, welcome. Theophilus Samson Femi, Mike Enfries, welcome. Daniel Asenga. Favor Umaha, Adiola Disu, Ide Okwok, Oriyomi Anota Jinad, Theophilus Tumboson, Lola Shorunke, Doris Ngere, Paul Eshupofo, I think. Towanda Geoffrey, Fumi Jeboda, Pastor Abi, Fehi Lola Nuhu, Deola Disu, Phyllis Meek, Nkem Dike, Shinelo Ishiebuka, Idi Peter, Olainka Sheun Adeyemo. By the way, Nkem DK is releasing an album. I'm sure you people have seen I think it's next weekend. Nkem DK is releasing an album. So I want us as a family to support her. If you don't mind, I've put the sticker and the banner of our new album release on our, messenger. And I put it on my page as well. So let's support Nkem Dike in a new album release, and and get behind our own. Let's enjoy our praise. I can't wait to get that album to listen to it myself. I am eager to listen to it. So let's all get a copy. And together learn to praise the Lord together with Nkem Dike. Okay, welcome everybody. I also want to say a big thank you to all the people who bought my book, Mountain of Ignorance. But something very funny happened with that Mountain of Ignorance. Let me tell you a very funny story here. You won't believe it. In the Mountain of Ignorance, we went and, we released the electronic form, now, in Kindle. So it was the Kindle copy that we released for the Mountain of Ignorance. And the funny thing about it is that we released the unedited copy. We released the unedited copy. So what we have decided to do, we are going to send all of you that have bought, who did the pre-order for the Mountain of Ignorance and bought it before this week. If you bought it before this week, before Monday, if you bought your own Mountain of Ignorance last week, before this week, we are going to send you a second one. So the second one we are going to be sending you is the one we are going to do, is the edited copy that we are going to be sending you, Mountain of Ignorance. Because the one you got, the one you got is an unedited copy with a lot of mistakes in it. So we are going to send you another one. Not just you, we are going to send it to everybody. And we are going to send it to everybody that ever bought it. So it's no problem. It's not a big deal. We are going to send you the edited copy this week that we are getting into from Monday. So especially, Ruth Mason also noticed it. I was thinking there were quite a lot of mistakes of spelling. Yes, you're right. There were a lot of mistakes over there. So we are going to be sending you, it was also Yeah, Winifred said, I pre-ordered my own last week. Yeah, for those people who pre-ordered it, all people who bought it, everybody who bought the book, you get a new copy, a second book. The second book you are going to get is going to be for free, of course. So it's going to be for free. So we are going to send you the second book for free. But the second book will be the edited copy of it. So you don't have anything to lose. You will have the old copy and the new copy. That is for the mountain of ignorance. But, of course, Anastasia says, I haven't read my own yet. No problem. If either you've read it already or you've not read it already yet, we are going to send you a new book. That is the Kindle copy. We're talking about the Kindle copy now. So everybody who bought the mountain of... But if you don't get a copy of the mountain of ignorance for free, it will mean that you only bought your own this week. You didn't buy it last week when it was being pre-ordered. It is those who bought it last week that we are going to send another one to. From Monday we are going to, of course, release the next book. This next book that is coming, I think probably is one of the most important books. I think in years to come, this next book we are going to release is going to be regarded as one of the most important books that have ever been written in this world. I think the next book is going to be called, of course, Stop Working for Uncle Sam. So you all know about Uncle Sam. That Uncle Sam book, I think it's not just going to become a bestseller. Bestseller is nothing. That Uncle Sam book is going to shake the world as it is. As it were today, as the world is right now, the system of the world is going to suffer a major attack. In fact, I'm not going to be surprised if after the Uncle Sam system, after the Uncle Sam book, they remove us from Facebook again. After that Uncle Sam book, I'm expecting Satan to come with all his attacks. But you know what? I want us to, get as many. If you love anybody in this world, go get them and just, even give them the money to go and order it. Again, we are going to just do the Kindle pre-order. So the pre-order for Uncle Sam book is on Kindle. It's starting on Monday. Monday to Friday, from the Monday the 6th, to Saturday is going to be pre-order for Uncle Sam. Then after that, it's going to be $20. So you could get it for a cheap price. 4 times we're reducing the price. We're only selling it for $5 in the pre-order season. But after the pre-order on Sunday, from Sunday is going to be $20, the paperback. And so you want to get the book for $5, from Monday before Friday or before Saturday, but better before Friday. So, and get as many people, because that book, Stop Working for Uncle Sam, the person who edited the book for me said when she was reading it, it was so difficult for her because her eyes were opening. And in fact, let me even tell you, I gave it to another editor. I feel like crying myself. Because I gave it to someone else or 2 people to edit it for me. One person started editing it, and I was saying, what is wrong with this man? Why is he not? He's trying to edit this book. He's taking the book for 6 months. He couldn't finish editing it. 6 months. So let me tell you what he wrote. So I had to give it to another person to finish editing it for me. So when he saw the advert on Facebook, so he write, "Hello, Pastor. Top of the day to you out there in Kiev. How is the family doing? I observed that your book is already done and is going on the market for sale. He is the one that was supposed to edit it. So he's shocked and he's impressed that the thing is already out. Now, what is he saying? Why is it that he couldn't do it? Why is it that he couldn't finish editing it? Listen to what he says. He said, the book, Stop Working for Uncle Sam, is such a huge book. I want to applaud and thank God for your life, just for that book. That book is going to change the history of the world. That book, Stop Working for Uncle Sam, if you know anybody, especially if people live in the Western world, if you know anybody who lives in the Western world, because it's much worse over there. Okay, if you are living in Cameroon, you can get it on okadabooks.com. Okadabooks.com, I think it's called. Anyway, so let me keep on reading this guy's letter. He said, Pastor Sunday, you are a man of action. You have always been so, and you will always be. I want to sincerely apologize for letting you down and not measuring up to your expectations. No excuse is good enough, so I won't even try. I am very, very sorry. Now, see what he's now going to say. See what this editor of mine says now. Now, I must tell you that though I did not finish editing the book for you, but the reason is because the book is such a powerful book, a book that will set people free from the bondages of American dream mirage. He is an American. So this book will stop people and deliver people from the bondage of American dream mirage. Pastor, expect to hear stories of the enemy fighting people hard as they read this book. Or Satan is going to keep them from reading this book. Or is not going to allow them to buy it. Because the reason why I did not finish, let me tell you what he's saying here. The reason why he did not finish editing the book is because while he was reading it and editing it, the book was ministering to him so hard, so much. He said the book was about his life. He couldn't just get himself to editing. It was ministering to him. He couldn't drop the book. For 6 months, he kept on reading it over and over again just to change his own life. So he's saying, so I want to warn everybody. I think we should put this out somewhere. This is testimony. We should put it out. You remind me. Somebody should remind me. Maybe Pastor Sufficient should remind me so that I could send it to you. So he's saying Satan is going to fight people from reading the book, or is going to make it so hard for them to buy the book. So because Uncle Sam is not an abstract thing. It is living, breathing. It is a living and breathing entity that desires nothing good for mankind but servitude. So this book is going to be known as one of the most important books that has ever been written in this whole world. The principles you put forth in this book are so liberating, and I pray that people will read it thoroughly and not be distracted. So that's why he kept the book for 6 months. He couldn't get out of it. He couldn't just return it to me because he was not editing. He was not editing the book. He was reading the book for himself. It's because he was crying. He was, it was challenging him. He was restored. He was just, repenting. He couldn't just get the book to read the book like an editor. He was reading it to minister to himself. By the way, if you have not shared the link to these messages, let's go ahead and look for our share button and let's go and share the message, please. Okay, every one of us, let's stop right now and go and share the message if you don't mind. Please go look for your share button. Let everybody go and look for their share button now, and let's quickly go and share the message so that anybody that is not joining us yet could come and quickly join us. So let's keep on reading this guy's letter. The principles in the book are so liberating and I pray that people will read it thoroughly and not be distracted. One principle I appreciate personally, and which is your own theme that you always talk about, is that work is a gift from God that must be used for God in that book. And we do it, but we're supposed to do work or work only as a means to fulfill destiny. But we use work just to survive. And that is where Uncle Sam gets us. When we begin to work just to survive, we fall into the trap of Uncle Sam. And the whole world is in that trap. Because nobody has told us, and nobody has told us how to escape it, how to live and work for fulfillment rather than for making a living. People don't know these things. So that's what this editor, my editor, is saying. So he couldn't edit the book, somebody else edited the book, but even the person who edited the book said the book was so difficult for him. Now, not that it was difficult in the sense that difficult to read, but difficult to change our life, that it will have to require me to change myself, to change my life. So this person is saying here, so this principle you pointed out in the book, that work is only supposed to be used to fulfill God's calling, God's mandate, God's destiny for our lives, but we abuse work. And instead of using work to fulfill our God-given mandate, we are using work as a means of survival, as a means of making a living, and so we fall under the trap of Uncle Sam. That alone, this man is saying, that alone is worth buying the whole entire book for. That alone, just to be able to get out of the trap of Uncle Sam. Understanding that alone destroys the mirage. He is an American. This person is an American, so he's talking about America. So it destroys the mirage of the American dream. Because people want to get into the American dream, philosophy, and they don't end up getting into the captivity of Uncle Sam as a result, without knowing it. So they're dreaming of American dream, but they get themselves in American slavery. So many times, I wish I wasn't editing. So this is his problem. You see him talking now. I wish I wasn't editing the book, because I just wanted to read it straight for myself, thoroughly through, because I get so captivated when the way you expose Uncle Sam's tactics in this book. And I realize that I smack in the middle of his web. I'm smack in the middle of the web of Uncle Sam. Maybe now that the book has been edited by someone else, I am so happy, because now I will now be able to, focus more in reading the book for myself rather than trying to edit it. I'm truly sorry for not finishing the book. Again, any excuses will be, lame on my part, so I will refrain. No, anyway, forget about that. Anyway, so the is eating the market from tomorrow, from day after tomorrow, from Monday. So from Monday, every one of us could get the book, Uncle Sam book. Stop working for Uncle Sam. So please, please, please do everything. For anything you want to do, be the first to get it. Let's do everything we need to do to get that book. And this is a touching testimony that is so. And the person who eventually edited this book, also I was wondering, she worked so fast, and she was able to do the other book that she edited before. She was able to do it in 3 days. But here, I waited for 1 week. She couldn't get the book to me. Second week, she couldn't get the book to me. I said, why is it taking so long? I said, Pastor, this book is so difficult because we are all under the bondage of Uncle Sam. This book is so difficult for us, for me to finish, because I just kept on, getting broken, Anyway, so that's about that. So if you have not yet, gotten the book, Of course, you cannot get it yet. The pre-order starts from Monday. So, but get yourself ready. Get yourself ready psychologically to go get the book. Like I said, those who bought the Mountain of Ignorance, I'm going to send you another copy because there was a mistake there, a lot of mistakes, because we sent you the unedited copy. It's very rough with a lot of typographical mistakes. So we are going to send you for free of charge, new copies of Mountain of Ignorance, especially for those who bought it during the pre-order session. So we're going to send you the Kindle copy, free copy, another copy of Uncle Sam's Mountain of Ignorance. Curtis Anthony Simpson says, yeah, Uncle Sam is the matrix. Yes, it's a matrix, you're right. Yeah, it is a matrix assimilation. Yeah, it's matrix. So that is what I'm exposing. I'm exposing the matrix of American system and the Western system and the capitalistic system in that Uncle Sam book. And it's going to set the whole world free. It's going to be one of the most important books that has ever been written. Where do you get your books in Abuja? You can get my book through Shioma. I don't know. I think maybe if Shioma is on now, she will put a telephone down there for you. So please, or if anybody knows Shioma's telephone, please supply us with somebody. Please write Shioma's telephone number here, or Bode's telephone number. But you could also get it through online, okadabooks.com. So you could go to okadabooks.com and get it as well. But otherwise, on Amazon, yeah, that's where everybody could get it. So, Father, in Jesus' name, I'm so touched already by this program, just by talking about Uncle Sam, because I know what is coming and what people are supposed to see. And I'm just asking that you will set your nation, not just people watching me right now, free, but I'm praying that you will just use this program today and the book that is coming and all the 25 books that I'm going to release before my birthday. I'm just, praying, oh Lord, that you will touch everybody that is here right now or that is going to read the book, or, that you just minister to us through this program today and through next week, the Uncle Sam system and Mountain of Ignorance and other books that are coming. Father, just let us just become servants of your kingdom rather than servants of this kingdom of this world and the system of this world. Set your people free, open our eyes, and cause us to become, the people that you created us to be, so that we'll be able to please you and fulfill your will and destiny in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, the topic of today, we still talking about thinking, the art of thinking. But the topic for today is all thinking are based on assumptions. Is it based or must be based on assumptions? All thinking is based on assumptions. All thinking is based on assumptions. All thinking is based on assumptions. All thinking is based on assumption. Yeah, you know where that comes from, right? You remember we're talking about three things. Today is the third point we are talking about. The first, we've spoken about the laws of thinking, and the laws of thinking I've given you. Yeah, all thinking is based on assumption, right? That's the topic for today. But you remember where we started from? I'm talking right now on the laws of thinking. And the first law of thinking, you remember it? All thinking must be purposeful. Then the second law of thinking is all thinking must be based on the question. Is an attempt. All thinking is an attempt to answer one question or the other. And then today is the third law of thinking, which is all thinking is based on assumption. All thinking is based on assumption. All thinking is based on assumption. So here we go. All thinking is based on assumption. Before you could understand this topic, I think I've got to talk to you about what is assumption. What is assumption? Yep. I've got to tell you about what is assumptions. So, assumptions are beliefs that we all take for granted. Assumptions are beliefs that we have, that we automatically believe in these things. We believe that our thinking is right. So assumptions are beliefs we take for granted, thinking that what we are thinking is right and that our thoughts are correct. Our assumptions usually operate on the level of subconscious. So we think and assume that whatever we are thinking is the right thing. We normally assume that whatever we're thinking is the right thing. That whatever we're thinking is the right thing. And that is a problem. That is a mistake. Because an assumption is actually the lowest form of knowledge. Assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. But because of the laziness that we all have, the laziness of the mind, we are all thinking that whatever we think is right and all our thinking is correct. And that is a mistake. So an assumption is when you just think that whatever is going on in your mind is the truth and you are not questioning it. Or you can question it sometimes, but we all start our thinking by our assumption. All of us have assumptions. All of us think that we are right in our own mind. Everybody thinks it's right in his own mind until he's challenged. Either he challenges himself or he allows other knowledge or superior knowledge to challenge him, or he allows the statistics and research and other knowledge or other information to challenge himself. But most of the time, because of laziness of the mind and because of the lack of desire to think, many people don't even want to challenge their thoughts. They just think that whatever they are thinking about is right. Now, in most of the teachings that I've done, I've always started by giving you the methods of how to, for example, when I spoke about all thinking must, have a purpose, I first started by giving you, how to think with a purpose, then how to think with questions. But today I'm starting with definition. So the definition of assumption, and what I said is that all thinking is based on assumptions. You might admit it, you might not admit it, but we are all humans. All human beings, we fall into that mistake of assumptions and we live out of assumption. That is the beginning. It is the lowest level of knowledge. We always start our thinking with assumption. We always start our meditation, our actions with assumptions. So it is normal. So it is not that assumptions are bad or evil. It is not that assumption is something you should never do. No, actually, as a matter of fact, it is normal for you to start your thinking with assumption. It is normal and it is okay. It is natural that you are starting your life with, your thinking process with assumptions. Because if you don't start your thinking process with assumption, that means that it means you don't have subconscious. As anybody that has, we have active consciousness and we have the subconsciousness. So we have our mind is divided into two. It's divided into active consciousness or just consciousness and subconsciousness. So subconsciousness is it is the storage, it is the storehouse for all our thought process. Everything we ever saw, everything we ever hear, everything we ever see, all of them are compiled in our subconscious mind. So whenever you want to do anything or whenever you want to think anything you do, some information are supplied from your subconscious mind. So the information that is coming from your subconscious mind is what we call the assumption. So especially before they are verified, if the information that is coming, the assumption that is coming, the knowledge that is coming from within you without confirmation and without facts and without statistics to back it up, when you don't have the confirmation and the assurance yet, when you have not yet done your research and your own work, and the first information that comes to your mind, or the first the first knowledge that come up to you, it is the lowest level of knowledge, because it is something that you have not backed up with facts and data and statistics yet. So that first level of information that is coming to you, that is what we call assumption. So it is normal for people to have assumptions, but you should not live by assumptions. So even though assumptions are normal, even though assumptions are common to all men, but we don't settle on assumptions. We don't stop on assumptions. We don't base our decisions on assumptions. We don't receive the assumptions that is coming from us and then use it as the basis for the decisions that we take. We don't settle on assumptions. We don't use assumptions as the basis upon which we take our decisions. We are not, taking assumption as the truth. We don't use assumptions and call it the truth. We don't use assumptions and base our decisions on actions on them. Unfortunately, people who are not well informed, or people who don't know the difference, always fall into this trap of thinking that whatsoever comes to their mind, or whatsoever is the assumption that they have, they don't even know it's an assumption. Because any thought that comes to your mind, any mindset that you have, any thought that you have that is not being researched, or is not yet been confirmed, or is not yet been backed by data and by information and by research, any such information is only an assumption, really. And a lot of people that we see around us, they only live on that level. They live on the level of an assumption. They only live on the level of whatever information they already have in them. They don't bother to research. They don't bother to look for the truth. They don't bother to look for statistics. They don't bother to confirm. They don't bother to look for facts. They don't bother to look for data. They just assume that anything that their subconscious supplies them with, any information that comes to their mind, that is the truth. And that is a very big problem right there. Because when you live on assumption, you make a whole lot of mistakes, because you will just be discovering on every step of the road that, those things you had assumed, because they were not researched well, maybe because you just heard them from somebody else, or that's how you are taught, or that's what you are, you just used to know. If they have not been confirmed, if they have not been affirmed one way or the other, statistically, or documentally, or scientifically, or any other way, it means that you are living on assumption. Now, this point now, which is the third law of thinking, it underlines to us why we must question everything. Everything you have not questioned yet in your life is an assumption. If you have not questioned anything, if you have not researched the thoughts you have or the practices in your life, it's an assumption. For example, people believe, many people in our world today believe that family is the most important thing in life. And not too many people ever challenge that concept. But that is an assumption. Some people believe that children are the most important thing in life. If you have not searched that, if you have not confirmed it, if you are not basing that information on some affirmation, on some data or some research or statistic, is just an assumption. And that assumption is what is ruining the lives of so many people today. Can you believe it? Today I was listening to one of our sisters. By the way, I think the reason we are not 200 people yet live is because most of our people in London, in England, they have a conference today. TY is having an event, so all of them are there. They are having their program today. So people from England might not be online with us today. Many of them might not be online with us today because they are having an event. So, so we could understand that. Anyway, so I was listening to her today, and she was one of the things that, Elizabeth Ali said is that most girls and most women, even when they are still in secondary school or in university, they begin to, dream of getting a husband. And everybody is just thinking that their joy and their satisfaction in life is connected to when they have a husband or when they have children. But that is only an assumption. And because that assumption is just an assumption that is not being based on fact and truth, that is why many families are shipwrecked today. Many families are, suffering. Many women are suffering in relationships because they are thinking that marriage is the key to happiness in life. But that is an assumption that is not true. And as long as you have not discovered for yourself why marriage is the most important thing in your life, you are only living by the assumption that has been sold to you by other people. So when you say the most important thing is to have children, as long as I have children, I'll be happy, you will be so disappointed because you will discover soon that that is only an assumption. Because you have children and you don't know that there are some other things that you needed to have before you have children, and that that there are some things that are more important than having children. You will discover that you are destroying your life. Those children are the things that will drive you to your grave. The same thing with marriage. If you don't get your facts together and be able to confirm to yourself that you are not marrying out of other people's assumptions that have been sold to you, if you don't get your facts together and answer the question for yourself why marriage is important to you, why children are important to you, you will discover that marriage is what will drive you to your grave. Or it is what will make your life miserable. Marriage is going to become the most miserable thing. In fact, as a matter of fact, 50% of all people who are married are miserable, and they are living in misery on daily basis. And what has made their life to be miserable is the marriage. Before, they thought that they had a bad life before they married, but once they married, their life became hell on earth. I will tell you something, a lot of people are living in marriages right now which is like living in hell on earth just because of the wrong assumption that they must marry. Who told you that you must marry? Why should they? What do you base that on? What's your statistic? What's your proof that you must marry? What is the basis that proves to you that you must marry? Why must every woman marry? Why must every man marry? Why is it that you must have children? Who told you that? If it's not based on some information, statistics that you have found out for yourself, if it's not based on some data, on some proofs, on some evidences that you are being convinced of on personal level, don't even believe anybody telling you all those kind of rubbish. Now, I'm going to use another example now that is going to blow your mind, and you might not like it, or you might even hate me as a result of it. But let me take you another example here. Many of us today, we think that not to go to church on Sunday is a sin. Do you know there are a lot of people who think that if you don't go to church on Sunday, that is a sin? And so many people will rather go to church, and they keep on going. In fact, there are some people who are even watching me right now who have started going to church every Sunday all their lives. They keep on going to church. But what is the proof? What is the evidence? What is the result of you going to church every day like that? What is the result? What is the essence of it? What has that given to you? I'm not sure it has given you anything. I'm not seeing the result. I don't see the fact that you going to church every Sunday has made your life better than other people who have not gone to church. I'm not sure that going to church every day has given you what it's supposed to give you. You know, there are some people who, in fact, one time I was doing my program here. I was doing my live program like this, and somebody was writing and said, Pastor, why are you not going to church? You're not going to church today? I said, no, I'm not going to church every day today because I have church every day. First of all, I have church in my, I preach him every Sunday, every day. So, but just for the person to hear that I am not going to church, he thinks that is already, you are backsliding. Who told you you must go to church? Who told you must go to church every Sunday? What do you base that? Yes, you could take the decision to be going to church every Sunday. Let that be your decision. Let that be your decision. But only your decision. You must base that decision on something. If that decision is only based on the assumption that it must be done just because other people are doing it, then you miss the road. Then that is a problem right there. You shouldn't be going to church just because everybody else is going or because that is what everybody is doing. You must go to church because you have some evidence why it is important for you. You must have a proof why going to church is the right thing for you to do. So don't just go to church because that is what everybody else does. If you do that, that means you are living on assumptions. Now, it is important to start from assumption. Everybody start their thinking process from assumption. Every human have some form of assumption in their first step. But assumption is only for you to start out. It's the lowest. It's like you are going to a 10-story building and you are only taking your first step. You have only put your leg on the stairs, on the very first stair. But that doesn't mean that you have reached your destination yet. So it's the lowest form of knowledge. It's the lowest form of information. But you don't take decisions. You don't settle on the lowest form of information. You don't settle down on assumption. You don't make assumption become the basis for your decision making. For your decision making. That is why it is important that we learn to think. The first law of thinking is that every reasoning must have a purpose. And if you missed out on this, it was 2 weeks ago, we have it on the YouTube. Why the first law of thinking is thinking must have a purpose. The second law of thinking is that thinking must be based on some questions that you want to settle. So if you just think that you must go to church just because you must go there, show me the result. The reason the going to church has not changed many lives is because they are going there because it's based on tradition, or it's based on they are going to church is based on assumptions. They are not going to church with intentions. In fact, some people are even going to the wrong church. They don't even know the difference that they are going to the wrong church. They don't even know that they are not. In fact, there are some of you who don't even know the difference what church to go to, why you should go to church or why you should not go to church. What are the criteria that make you to know which church to go to and which church not to go to? Some of you don't even know the difference. Why? Because you are going to church as a religion. Many of us are only having religion, but we don't have Christianity. Many of us don't even have relationship with God. We don't even know what it means to have relationship with God. Do you know that there are people in this world who think that if you don't go to church, you are not a believer? Can you believe that? There are some people who think that if you don't go to church, you are not a Christian. So it has gotten so bad that many people now think that going to church is what qualifies you to be a Christian. That as long as you are going to church, that you are a Christian. Can you believe that? But there are some people who live like that. And then if you don't go to church, there are some people who think that you are backsliding. So for you not to go to church means you are backsliding. What is that? Because people have refused to think. People don't think. People have refused to think. So that's why this series I'm doing right now, the art of thinking, is so vital. We all must learn to think. Thinking is one of the most important things you ever engage yourself in your whole life. So if you don't think, you will be reduced to living on assumption. So again, what is an assumption? Assumptions are beliefs that come from our subconscious mind into the first level of information that comes from our subconscious mind into us whenever we want to do anything or whenever we want to think of anything. The first level, the first class of information that comes to your mind, the first level of knowledge that comes to you without confirmation, without verification, that level of information, that first level of information without confirmation, without anything, is what we call assumption. And in most cases, many people believe that their assumptions are right because it's coming from me. But the thing with assumptions is that they are never right until they are confirmed. Nothing is wrong with assumptions. Assumptions could be right, but also they could be wrong. So what makes us to then know, is my assumption right or wrong? Are my research, my confirmations, my evidences, my data, and things like that. So so I'm building on these laws. You remember we started the laws of thinking by saying the first law of thinking is thinking must be purposeful. So for you to just have assumption, you'll be going the wrong direction. That is why this makes it's logical that by questioning your assumptions, you'll be able to get the right purpose. By questioning your assumption, you'll be able to determine for yourself the reason for your purpose. You'll be able to have explanation of your purpose. You'll be able to have explanation of your goals. Everything you do will be goal oriented, purpose driven, only because you are not basing it on assumption. When you question your assumptions, then you get to a place of purposefulness. Then the second law of thinking that we spoke about the last time is that every thinking is supposed to settle some questions. Every thinking is supposed to settle one question or the other. So now that is why you must not base your actions on assumptions, because you want to question your assumptions. By questioning your assumptions, you'll be able to have clarity, and you'll be able to have certainty. You'll be able to have assurance about what is happening in your life, why you want to do what you want to do. For example, do you know that a whole human race have been reduced to animal level of interaction just because of assumptions? Do you know that Europeans 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 600 years ago, Europeans used to think that black people are not human. They used to think that humans have degradations and gradations, and that human being, black people, if you have your skin black, that you are not a human being, that you are not fully human. So a human being like me 400 years ago, 500 years ago, could be, if I had lived in Africa 500 years ago, maybe somebody would have kidnapped me, sold me like you sell goats and cattle, like you sell fish and cow in the market. Because of assumptions. And the reason why, what made them to make that assumption, is because people came to Africa and saw that these people in Africa could not read and they could not write. So because they look foolish, because if you cannot read and write, you look foolish. So they just assumed that because they could not read and write, it means they are not fully human. They are equal to animals. So human beings were... Assumption is a dangerous thing. Assumption is a dangerous thing. Let me tell you another thing. I'm so sorry. Oh. When I was growing up in Africa, I had my grandmother had a set of twins. But as I was growing up in Nigeria, when you have a set of twins, they give them names that will make you to know that they are twins. So one is called Taiwo, and the second one is called Kende. So they have names for them, like A and B. So whenever you see A, you know that there must be a B. Whenever you see B, you know that there must be a A. So in my family, we know that there was Taiwo, but where is the Kende? Nobody knows where the Kende is. So we're always asking, where is the second pair? What happened to the second brother? Was he a brother or sister? What happened to the second one? So always, when I was growing up, they always said, the second one is not there. The second one is dead. It died at birth. Do you know, it took me time. It took me time to discover that my own people, that in my own culture, that our people will put to death one of the twins. If you give birth to twins, they used to assume that that is not normal. It is abnormal. Because what is normal is for a woman to give birth to one child. So if you give birth to more than one child, they thought it abnormal. And because it's abnormal, they think it's connected to evil spirit. And that this is going to bring some evil or bad luck to them, to their family, to their village, to their relatives. So the men in the house will force the woman they will force the woman to let go of one of her kids. And she knows that they will go and kill that child. And millions of people in my country were killed like this. Can you imagine a woman who that will just getting lying down there, and she couldn't stop it. She can't do anything about it. And the men will come and go and sacrifice one of the children. This happened not just in my tribe, this happened all over my country. What is that? Was that confirmed? Was that researched? Because a whole nation is having an assumption. Because a whole nation is built not on scientific fact. A whole nation, a whole people have not been taught to research their belief systems. A whole country, a whole nation have not been taught to look for evidences and to work with evidences of their beliefs. A whole nation, a whole people have not been taught to question everything. And when I look at Africa today, and when I look at churches today, and when pastors are telling their members never to question, when bishops are telling their members never to question anything they do, they are taking us back to the dark ages. Whenever a nation or a people or a church stops their people from questioning, we go back to that time when we were killing children, when we're making slaves of human beings. We begin to live out of assumption instead of out of knowledge, out of informed knowledge, and out of scientific evidences and data. So if you find yourself in a church or in a community of people where they stop you from questioning something, run for your life. If you find yourself in a community of people, either it's a church or something, where they tell you never to question anybody, never to question the pastors, never to question what they are teaching, never to question doctrines, please run for your life. Run for your life. Run for your life, please. Run for your life. Any society, any group of people that stops you from questioning what they do, they are setting you up for death, for destruction, for backwardness. And today, I look at my country, I look at my own country, society. There are so many things that Africans do. There are so many things that people do in different countries, black people do in many countries, that they don't question. There are so many things that people do that they don't challenge, especially the church world, especially the religious people. We stop questioning things. But Jesus was always questioning. When Jesus got to Galilee, he asked them, what do people think? Who do people think that I am? He's questioning. He doesn't want them to live in assumption. Because he knew that if he doesn't question, research, and try to find out what is really going on, people will be living in assumption, even concerning the Son of God. And he didn't want them to keep on living in that assumption. He didn't want them to keep on living in that darkness. He didn't want them to keep on living in that ignorance. Now you understand why I wrote that book, Mountain of Ignorance. Now you understand why I put $1, the book for $1. I removed all the cost. I took all the responsibility for all the cost of the book. And I gave it at a giveaway price, because Mountain of Ignorance has become a mountain. But when Jesus found out that these people were living in assumption, he challenged them and even challenged his own disciples. Who do people think that I am? Who do people say that I am? Who do people think that I am? Who do they say that I am? And they told him, some of them, and they were mistaken. That was the assumption. They said, we thought that you are Isaiah or Elijah. You are Elijah. Some people thought you are Elijah. Some people thought you are Nehemiah. Some people thought you are Isaiah. That is an assumption. They didn't research it. They didn't even ask him. It was right there before them. They could have asked him and he could have answered them. But they didn't even ask him. Everybody just living in their own assumption. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry for that, but I'm so sad. I'm so broken. If you don't have this, my book, The Mountain of Ignorance, go get it. We have the right copy there now, without mistakes. It's on Amazon and on Okada Books. So Jesus didn't want people to live on assumptions, so he challenged them. And when they began to supply their answers and give him, their thoughts and their assumptions on who they thought Jesus was, they missed it. So he had to correct them. So, another thing that fuels people living in ignorance and an assumption is that people will not talk out. In my culture, in my country, they don't want you to talk out. They don't want you to challenge. All the men of God, they don't even challenge anything going on in the society. They don't challenge anything going on. They just say, oh, God will do it. Oh, we give it up to God. So pastors are not challenging things in the society. Men of God are not challenging things in the church. Even you as a member of the church, you cannot challenge what the pastor said. You cannot challenge anything in the church. You cannot challenge what your denomination is doing. You cannot challenge anything. Even Jesus said, bring out your reasons. Let us reason. Come, let us reason together. Because he doesn't want you to live in other options. If you look at Matthew chapter 13, Jesus was always talking about parables. But so that his children, his disciples will not live on assumption, he will come back after telling the parables in the public. He will then call his disciples and say, do you understand that parable? Do you understand that parable of the sower? Do you understand that parable of this and that? Did you understand that parable? You didn't understand it? Okay, let me tell you now the meaning of it, so that they will not live in assumptions. This is all so that people will not live in assumptions. Assumption, we are not supposed to live on assumption. Assumption, even though all of us have assumptions, but we are supposed to do something with our assumptions. So what do you do? So you already know what is an assumption now. But the first thing you must do about your assumption is you must make sure that you are clear about your assumptions. Because some people are not even clear about their assumptions. They just think, oh, maybe it's like this, maybe it's like this, maybe it's like this, oh, yeah, it might be like this. And their assumptions are all conflicting with each other. And make sure you are clear about your assumptions. Define your assumption to yourself. Make it clear. By the way, if you have not yet shared this message, let's go look for the share button. Let's go and share the message right now. Let's go share our messages, this message, please. Everyone that is here with us, please go and share the message if you don't mind. So the first thing you want to do with assumption is clearly define your assumption. What do you assume about marriage? Can you tell me the reason why you think that marriage is needed for you? That you need marriage? Tell me. Prove it to me. Even if you are already married, prove to me that you have taken the right decision. Can you tell me that children, even if you are already having children, prove to me that the children you have, you didn't have them based on assumption. Prove to me that you have produced the best children that is possible in the world. Prove to me that it was the right decision for you to have those children. Prove to me that you didn't marry on assumption. Prove to me that you didn't even have those children on assumption. Prove to yourself. Don't even prove to me. Prove to yourself. Otherwise, those children will bring so much tears to you. They will bring so much pain to you. They will bring so much sorrow and tragedy to you that it will overwhelm, and it will be much more than the joy that you had about the children. If you don't prove to yourself, that marriage is what you needed, it is what is necessary for you, you will discover that marriage will bring so much pain to you for the rest of your life. So much regret, so much pain, so much regret that more than you will ever even have thought of enjoying it. Prove to yourself, question what you do. Don't just do things because that's what everybody else is doing. Identify your assumptions. And whatever you do, find out, ask yourself, what are my assumptions about this particular thing that I'm saying now? You know, there are some people right now who are not coming to watch this program, to even tune in, even though they are seeing this program. Maybe they got notification, but they will never even try to when they see it, they will not even try to watch it. You know why? Because he's a black man. They will just, or some people think, oh, he's a pastor, oh, he's religious. Many people come back to me to repent, because they say, pastor, we thought you are just another pastor. We thought you are just one of the pastors, and you are going to be talking like all of them, asking for offering or doing deliverance or doing some of the stupid things that people do in churches. So many stupid practices in churches that are putting people away, that are making people to run away from church, or to despise the church, or to don't want to go to church. And many of you don't want to question those things because you just assume that if it is done in the church, it means it's right. What are your assumptions about the church? What are the assumptions you are holding on to? Why should you assume that if your pastor is doing it, or if the church is doing it, that it's right? So because of that, many people don't even want to listen to any pastor again, because they already assume that if it's a pastor, it's just talking some rubbish like other people are doing. Or some people are thinking it's a black man, it's just the African religion, no, nothing to look for there. Assumptions are evil. You must always cross-check your assumptions. So one of the things you have to do with your assumption is clearly identify those assumptions. Look for anything, any area of your life where you are living by assumptions. Look for them. So you remember what I'm doing now? I've given you, number one, I've given you the definition. Now I'm giving you the point, right? The methods of discovering or setting yourself free from assumption. The methods, the points. So you need to first of all define, clearly, identify, look for those areas where you are living in assumptions. Number two, make sure you are clear. That's what I said first. Make sure you are clear about your, first of all, identify them, find them where assumptions are hidden in your life. Secondly, define those your assumptions. Define them, because some people cannot even define their assumptions. They're just living in some vague thing in the cloud somewhere. But make sure you can define your assumptions. Number three, ask yourself if your assumptions are justified or not. Are they justified? Number four, ask yourself or find out what are these evidences that make them to be justified. What are the evidences that make them to be justified? What are the evidences of those assumptions? What are the evidences that justify your assumptions? Next point. What are the decisions you have made based on the wrong assumptions? Next point. What are you still engaged in or involved in right now that are based, that your judgment, your decision in what you are engaged in right now? What are those things? Identify those things. What are those things that you are still doing right now that are just based on assumptions, that you don't have justifiable reasons for? Next point. Answer the question to yourself and for yourself. How are these assumptions shaping your life? How are your assumptions? How is this particular assumption shaping your life? How has it shaped your life up to now? For example, some people from Africa assume that if they go to Europe, if they travel out of the country, that they will have a good life. And because of that, they have entered into mystery and pain a life of regret. In fact, some other people who are in Africa right now, or who are in Europe right now, are thinking that, if they go to Africa, that, things will be bad for them. So they are living in Europe and suffering without basing their assumption on evidences. Go find out things for yourself. Go do research and make sure that, maybe if you go to Africa, things would have even been better for you. Maybe you would have been doing much better. So now that I've given you the methods of, finding out your assumptions or where you are if you are living by assumption or not, let me go to the third part. I'm always giving you 3 or 4 dimensions of my teaching. The next part of my teaching is, I want to give you questions that will help you to identify your assumptions. I want to give you questions that will help you identify your assumptions, or what to do with your assumptions. Because some of the assumptions were good, some of them might be right, but you still need to confirm them. So the first question that you want to answer for yourself is this: What are you taking for granted? You ask yourself, what am I taking for granted in my life? Because normally the things that you are taking for granted, they are your assumptions. Things that you just think that they don't need to be questioned. Things that you think that are just okay by themselves. Things that you think that are okay, are good. They are most likely the assumptions that you are living in. So what are those things you are taking for granted? Anything you are taking for granted and you are thinking, oh, it's all right, everybody is doing it, or that's just the way it has been, that's the way it's supposed to be. Those things are your assumptions. It doesn't matter whether they are good or bad. Find evidences for them that will help you to stand on solid ground. And that will help you to be able to be firm in your belief system, in your assumption. Those are the questions I'm giving you now, right? Next question. Ask yourself the question, am I assuming? Okay, before I give you the next question, okay, the first question I give you is, what am I taking for granted? But you should also apply these questions to the world around you and to the people around you. What is it that your church is taking for granted? What is it that your country is taking for granted? What is it that your pastors are taking for granted about you, about people, about the country, about politics, about God? What are the things that people normally take for granted? That means those are their assumptions. Wherever you are involved, in any society you are, what are people taking for granted? Those things that people take for granted become their trap later on, sooner or later. It becomes their death trap. But you start from yourself. You start with yourself, definitely. What are the things that you take for granted? Concerning church, concerning marriage, concerning family, concerning children, concerning your country, concerning your husband, concerning your wife. Onyinye Okoro is writing something here. She says, recently a pastor organized marriage banquet for his church youth. After prayers, he told them he was led by the Spirit and asked them to propose immediately to each other because he has a vision of joining 20,000 people every month together, partners, boys and girls joining together in marriage. My God, this in Africa. People were just proposing to each other like crazy, thinking that since the pastor has got the vision and revelation, that the pastor knows what he's doing. So they started proposing to each other without knowing what they were doing and what they were going into, just because of the revelation of a pastor. And this is one of the biggest congregations in Nigeria, in our country. People respect the man of God, people love him, people believe him, and people are just going into marriage just because they came to a seminar where the pastor said, begin to propose to each other, I have a revelation. So what is the assumption? The assumption is that if the man of God says it, it's going to come to pass. The man of God is right. What are the evidences? We live in a society in our country where we don't look for evidences to what men of God say. For example, in January this year, there was an article that came out in Nigeria, in the Nigerian newspapers, whereby they put the picture of men of God in Nigeria who prophesied last year. Because in Nigeria, this crazy thing about prophecy has gone awry, just crazy. So every year now, pastors prophesy something that this year is going to be this. So these journalists went and did research and compiled together all the prophecies that all the men of God, these are the big men of God, these are not the cult leaders, these are the real fathers, they call them. These men of God, these GO, these fathers and these bishops, they went to compile all the prophecy they gave last year, what they said was going to come to pass, and what they said was going to happen. And they now came up with a newspaper report and said, okay, look what you said last year, verbatim what they said, and look what happened and what didn't happen. And they discovered that all of them, none of them said anything that happened. Nothing happened. All the men of God that prophesied something last year, none of them came to pass. So they put their pictures in Nigeria and released that article. So I saw that article and I just copied it. I shared it. I am not the one who did the research. I just shared it. If you see all the if you see all the attacks I was getting, in fact, some people were calling me friends and say, but why did you share that? I said, I'm not the one who wrote it. I just shared it so that people will know that they shouldn't be blind and, be following all these men of God. They said, but you know that Papa is there. You know that man of God is there. You know that GO is there. You know the picture of that GO is there. Anything that this men of God, don't touch it because they are men of God. But they said something didn't come to pass. Pastor, no, don't let, even if they made a mistake, please don't touch it. Please let God deal with them. It is this kind of culture that kills the society. And it puts so many people in bondage and, in bondage. So a whole country is living in deception, and anything that these men of God say, and these so-called men of God say, people begin to buy them, and that's why the country is backward. Because the whole country is living in assumption that if this person is a man of God, then he must be right. Just like when one of them went and said, because they gave him a report, somebody just told him that they want to kill him, that the Fulanese herdsmen want to kill him. And this man went and said, go kill them, go cut off their head. A pastor was saying that. So until they wanted to arrest him, and people had to rescue him by miracle. Now he kept quiet. No, God is not going to say anything like that anymore. Until he was arrested, he was almost arrested. He didn't keep quiet. People were thinking that he's a man of God. And there are some people who are applauding him that he's a man of God. People are so foolish. People refuse to think with their mind again. Just because a man of God is doing something. Because they are living in assumption that if these people are men of God, anything they say is right. Absolute madness. Temilola Aderomu says, I think we all need to go back to our first love, Jesus. Know God personally by spending time in His Word and prayer. Ask Him all the questions we have in our hearts, that we might not be confused about, and pray for His will. Yeah, but it's all about personal relationship with God. It's not about religion. Edwin Amini said, Pastor, one of my pastor friends asked his members to bring their husband's socks to church for prayers. I said, why? Bringing your husband, your partner's socks and underwear? Pastors, bring it. Why should you be asking me to bring my husband's pants or underwear or socks to church for your prayers? Or my wife's underwear to church? And these are real men of God, they call them. Nkem DK says, yes, that's the culture I don't understand. A man of God does or says something wrong, and you cannot question it, and you cannot say anything about it, because if you do, they say you are placing yourself under a curse. They will tell you to leave him to God to undo. Why? God has given you mind now. Use your mind. So let's wake up. Being a Christian doesn't mean to be foolish. Don't let them reduce you to the blind. And when the blind is leading the blind, everything is horrible. Everything falls apart. Anyway, so the first question you must ask when it comes to assumption is, what am I taking for granted? And also, you must address that question to everything you do and to every community and society where you are. You must ask yourself and the people around you, your pastors and your country and your politicians and your leaders, ask them, what is this pastor taking for granted? What is this politician taking for granted? What are we taking for granted in our country? Question everything. Question everything. So that's number one question. What am I taking for granted? What are people around me taking for granted? Number two question you must ask is, am I assuming something I shouldn't be assuming? Am I assuming something I should not be assuming? And you should also ask that question to your pastors. You should ask that question to your leaders. Ask that question to your countrymen. Ask that question to your husband, to your wife, to your children. Am I assuming something I shouldn't be assuming? Okay, for example, the reason why, I personally, let me tell you my story. People who know me will know that I've not been traveling out of Ukraine now for like the past few years. And the reason for that is because I'm in court, and I have a calling now to go to Nigeria, and I want to go, but I cannot go because I want to finish the lawsuit here first. And you know the reason why I fell into that problem? Because I assumed that my church members cannot lie, and they cannot deceive me, and they cannot do anything wrong. So when there was a business that was being done in our church, and I sent one of my assistant pastors to go and find out about the business. What is there? Who is there? Who is behind it? And my assistant came back and told me everything is okay. It's some members of the church who's doing this, that everything. I just assumed that he cannot lie to me, and that they're okay. They're telling me the truth. So even that assumption, so when the business crashed, the government thought that I was a part of the business. Or maybe they knew that I was not, but they just used it for my enemies, political enemies used it as an argument to trap me. So when instead of me to go and do individual research myself, I believed what people told me, what my assistant told me, what my pastor told me, what my members told me. And for 8 years, I've been, suffering the consequences of that assumption. When you assume that people tell you the truth, when you assume that people cannot lie to you. Adefunke Raji said, I was a victim of a pastor encouraging me to get married because I was not getting younger. He married us. The marriage lasted only 3 years, but in pain and depression for both of us. We were meant to be friends. We should never have gotten into marriage, you see? And they believed it because they were, pastor. It was the pastor who said it. So the question is, am I assuming something I shouldn't? A lot of us, all of us assume what we shouldn't. But that's why we must question our assumptions. So ask yourself that. Are you assuming something that you shouldn't? I assume something that I shouldn't, and I'm paying for it up to now. I paid dearly for it. This should help you and save you from a lot of pain. And if a man of God tells you something, don't just assume it without confirming and researching it. Michael Rankin said, discernment isn't only being able to tell right from wrong, but also know what is right from what is almost right. Because the devil will always tell you a lie when it seems almost like the truth. The truth is absolute. Yep. Ide Okpok said, the church is recycling the voodoo worship mentality of our great-grandparents. Cephas Soklo, thank you, Pastor Adelaja. This is a very profound teaching. Anyway, not only that, I'm not surprised because we are in the last days, but it's helped me to realize my own assumptions. It's time to shift decisions and directions. Yep. Rosemary Ira said, the Bible says that you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. But in our society today, especially in the religious institutions, they lie to us. That is why we are in bondage. Yep. Oyinye Okoro said, marriage is a priority here in Nigeria. The stigma of being single is so much that most girls run from church to church in desperation, and unfortunately they fall victim. It is so sad. Ori Yomi Anota Jinad says, God have mercy on Africa, but our time has come. I'm glad I'm alive to be a part of this revolution and one of the answers to people's problems. Here I am, Lord. I shall not die. I will live and declare his glory. Let us keep sharing this truth and expose the lie of the enemy. People are dying. And that is why I said that, that book that is coming out, Stop Working for Uncle Sam, is going to be one of the most important books in the whole world that has ever been written in the history of the world. So it's from Monday, you'll be able to get it pre-order. So it's 4 times cheaper than the official price. It's going to be for $5, while the book itself is $20. But it's for $5, you'll be able to get it pre-order. If you pre-order it from Monday, between Monday and Saturday. If you want to buy it after Saturday, you have to buy it for $20 paperback. But it is only the the Kindle that it will be pre-ordered from Monday. Ola Abodere Johnson, wow, surely my personal relationship with God should be the ultimate, never live my life on assumption. My personal research of God's word should be my priority number 1. Yep. Olushi Nkem Dili said, I've always known that assumption is the mother of frustration. Yep. Emma Wasfi said, many won't do anything unless they get approval from their pastors. Many can't make decisions without pastors' approval. Church people's lives are run by pastors, not God. Wow. Olabisi Olushoga, wow, you've disappeared, Olabisi. Nice to see you again. Thank you. Olabisi says, people are lazy to read the Bible for themselves. Too many prayer points, uncountable prayer lines, little time for studies of the Holy Book, the Bible, which is our constitution, and the Holy Spirit, our comforter and teacher and helper, is left behind. Most believers do not care which power. They just want to get some power. Boniface Hart, sir, the wisdom you are teaching is bringing light in darkness in people's lives. Thank you. Paul Palmer says, I want to be updated because I just joined your live. I just want to ask, what is it all about? You will need, after we finish this live broadcast, what you will need to do is to go and like the page. Make sure you like this page and subscribe. You could like the page and subscribe. So each time that we're doing live broadcast, you'll be able to come on. Mrs. T. Evans or Tevans in Instagram is saying, Pastor Sunday, will you be broadcasting from Instagram now? What time will you be here? This is the first time we are trying to broadcast on Instagram. I didn't know Instagram was, having live broadcasts. But we're doing it today for the first time. And each time we come on, we'll try to come on Instagram as well. We'll see what we need to do to make it permanent. Anyway, let me keep on giving you the points now. Otherwise, so that we don't get distracted. So the first question you were supposed to ask yourself and others is, what am I taking for granted? The second question is, am I assuming something I shouldn't be assuming? Am I just assuming something I shouldn't be assuming? Am I taking something for granted? Cephas Soklo says, Pastor, do you have a hard copy of your books on Amazon? Yes, I have hard copy on Amazon for all my books, but the pre-order is only for Kindle. But not just on Amazon, but on Instagram, on Okada Books as well. Tega Adogbeji said, if they understand the gospel of the kingdom, a lot of these activities trying to keep their members interested in they will understand that all these activities are only directed at keeping members interested in their churches. They will be eliminated if they had preached the gospel of the kingdom. Your teachings have liberated me from all these manipulations. I question everything now. Thank God you are free. Jane Munsaka said, God bless you, Dr. Adelaja. This series has really helped me to shape my decision-making process. I have stopped doing anything with no purpose. Thank you, sir. This is profound wisdom. Thank you. Okay, the next point, I've given you 3 points right now, I think. The next, no, I think I've given you two. Number three question you must ask yourself: what assumption is leading? You must ask yourself what assumption is leading you to the particular conclusion you are having. The decisions you make and the conclusions you come to, you must always ask yourself, are you basing that decision and that conclusion on one assumption or the other? What are the assumptions that you are making that is making you to come to that particular conclusion you are coming to? So what are the assumptions that is leading you to that conclusion? And ask yourself, what assumption is leading me to this conclusion? And also you must ask your pastors. I mean, you must ask not your pastors, but you must question the pastors. You must question the churches. You must question your country, your society. What are the assumptions behind this thing we do in our country? What are the assumptions behind all these things that our parents are teaching us? All these things that our culture is teaching us? What are the assumptions that has made them to teach these things? What are the assumptions that make people to believe these things they believe? What are the assumptions that make us to behave this way? What are the assumptions that are making our culture to be like this? What are the assumptions that we have that is making our people to be like this? What is making our people to think this way? What are the assumptions that has brought us to where we are today? The next question you must ask yourself: whenever you see anybody do anything, whenever you see people, practice anything, maybe when they take a political decision or a policy in the church or in your community or in your family, where you see some strategies or anything you see going on, always question and ask the question: what are these people assuming? What are these people assuming? Why are they acting the way they are acting? Why are they behaving the way they are behaving? What are the assumptions behind their actions? What are the assumptions behind this policy? What are the assumptions behind these decisions? What are the assumptions behind these tactics? What are the assumptions behind this strategy? What are the assumptions behind this explanation? But for yourself as well, you always must ask yourself, what am I assuming here? Do I have facts? Do I have evidence? Do I have data? Do I have statistics? Do I have the facts to back up my assumptions? Next question. What exactly are people who I follow take for granted? The people I follow, are they people who live on assumptions as well? My teachers, are they people who live on facts or on assumptions? What do my teachers believe? Well, what is the basis of their belief? Why do they assume? Do they just live in assumption? The things they do, the things they are practicing, is it just based on assumption? My pastors, my leaders, my parents, my family members, my husband, my wife, what are their assumptions? What do they just take for granted? How do they take decisions? Do they take decisions based on assumptions or on facts? Do they do research on what they do or what they believe? Okay, Shioma has put our telephone number here. Shioma Ugwudi Nwigwe said to order Pastor Sunday's books within Nigeria, call or WhatsApp. So she has a contact here if you need my book or my material in Nigeria. This is on Facebook. She's written it on the comment here on the Facebook. So next question you want to ask yourself concerning assumption is, before you do anything, you want to ask yourself, what am I assuming? Is there any assumption here? What are the evidences I have to back up this assumption? Is this assumption right or wrong? The next question you need to ask in regards to assumption is, whenever you see any doctrine, any theory, or any belief system, ask yourself the question, whenever you see any belief system, any theory, ask yourself the question, what is it being presupposed in this theory? What is it being assumed in this theory? What are these people assuming? Are there some assumptions in this theory, in this belief, in this doctrine? Or everything is based on evidence, facts? So ask yourself the question, whenever you see any doctrine or you see any belief system, any teaching, always ask, what are the things that people assumed? The next thing you need to ask yourself about assumption is, what are some important assumptions I make about my life, my friends, my family, my parents, my background, my relatives, my teachers, my country? What are some major assumptions? Because you must question those assumptions and back them up with evidence, and make sure that you have reasons, strong enough reasons, that are based on the truth, or that are based on facts, that are based on statistics. There must be a reason why you are assuming. Don't just assume things. Don't just do things because everybody is doing them. Don't just do things because you are told to do them. Don't just take things for granted. Assumptions could become something very damaging, very painful, very deadly, very dangerous, and very destructive if you don't back them up with evidence. Most problems we all have in our lives is as a result of false assumptions. Like I told you, like I am going through the lawsuits that I'm going through and the pain that I'm going through in Nigeria and here in Ukraine, mainly because of the wrong decisions that I took based on assumption, assuming that people are good, believing people without, verifying all the facts, without, verifying the people's credentials. Like I said, with my lawsuits, members of my church that started a company that collapsed, now I'm suffering the pain because I could have stopped all that, but I believe that Christians, if these people are Christians, they will never do anything wrong. I just believe them that members of my church, Christians, cannot do anything bad or wrong. Even though we could say, oh, God allowed it, God is using it to teach us, which is true, but you could also avoid a lot of pain in your life just by questioning things and by living on facts, on truth, rather than living on assumptions. In fact, the root of so many problems in the society, you look at any marriage where there are people are having questions and problems and pain and conflicts and divorce, it's all because they live on assumptions. Look at relationships or families where they have problem with children, with their sons and daughters, and with their family, is because a lot of things are based on assumptions. Look at churches, look at societies where people are suffering. Okay, somebody spoke today about the American dream. We just assume that the system is right or the system takes care of everybody, but it's not true. That's the wrong assumption. You must find out how the system works. If you just want to assume that everything in your society or your country is right just because you have a government, you'll be disappointed. So a lot of our societal problems are based on assumptions because we don't take our time to find out the facts. We don't take our time to look for evidence and do things in the order that they're supposed to be in. So pain is inevitable when people live in assumptions. Suffering is inevitable when people live in assumptions. So let's stop living in assumptions. Let's begin to live with facts and evidence, living in truth. Because it's, the reason why we live in assumption is because of laziness. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to go through the pain of research. We don't want to go through the pains of, due diligence. So most assumptions are, because they come to us automatically, they are unconscious. They are coming from our subconscious mind. So they just come easily to us. We just think that whatever comes to our mind is the right thing. And that's why we end up suffering the consequences, which is always much more painful than the pain of research that we could have done. And of course, a lot of assumptions that we all have are based on prejudice. Things that we've been taught, things that we've been told, things that other people believe that they told us about. We just begin to believe them. We just take them because we don't want to go through the process of finding out things for ourselves. So a lot of assumptions that people live by are based on other people's gainsayings or other people's prejudices. Like I said, that can you believe it, that there was a time in human history when black people like me were being sold in the market? I mean, there were so many experiments that were carried out on black people, on black women. They were using blacks as experiments in the laboratory because of people will not, go through the pain of looking for truth. People would rather just live in assumption. So you have to reject and fight against assumptions life. Let's begin to look for truth. Let's begin to look for truth and live a truthful life. Let's begin to make truth the foundation of our decisions. Let's begin to make truth the basis of our actions. Let's begin to value the truth and see the truth as the most important thing in our lives. Let's begin to fall in love with the truth. The truth is always going to fight for us. The truth will always protect us. The truth will always be there for us. The truth will never let you down. But assumptions will kill you, and one fact is better than 10,000 assumptions. One truth is better than 1 million assumptions. A lot of assumptions are also based on biases. I mean, just yesterday I was watching the European Parliament, where all the countries of Western Europe are, and one parliamentarian from Poland was speaking in the European Parliament and was saying women are weaker than the men. They are more. They have less intelligence than the men. Women are less powerful than the men. They are less intelligent than the men. So all of Europe should pass a law to make the women not to be paid the same way, that their salary must be less than the salary of the men. This is in the 21st century. In the 21st century, people now in Europe want to pass a law to say that women should not be paid the same way that men are being paid. Because they are not as intelligent, they are not as strong, they are not as fast, they are not as this and that. But thank God there was a woman there from Spain. She came hard on the poor man. She came hard. She defended. She stood for the woman. But because this is an assumption that is based on prejudice, based on biased decisions or concepts, and a lot of assumptions that in fact, all of us, most of our lives we live on assumption, and all these assumptions are based on, a lot of our assumptions are based on stereotypes. Black people have stereotypes about white men, about white people. White people have stereotypes about black people. Can you believe it? I have some churches in America. Yes, I used to have a church in Washington, not DC, Washington State. So Seattle. So I came in one day to the city, to America, to my church. I'm the senior pastor, but it's a white church, white American church. But many of them are white from the former Soviet Union, from Europe. So, but they are white people who live no black, no one single black in that church. So, but the guys, so they sent a driver to get me, and a security guy, and an assistant pastor. So 3 guys in this car, in this limousine, they came with this limousine to get their senior pastor. They know me, they know that I'm a black person. And while we were driving from the airport to the church, to the hotel, these people were telling me, something was happening about black people killed somebody or something. So they were telling me that in America, that they believe that black people are the problems of America. And I'm a black man. They were telling me that. And they were just assuming, that this is the right thing, that pastor, that this is not racism, it's not racism, it's the truth. Everywhere black people are is a problem. And the decision they took, their recommendation, that's why those kind of people, they are celebrating Trump. They think Trump is going to bring this back. They said that they recommend that they should make abortion legal only for the black women. In America, right now. They should make abortion legal only for black people. Because they are the problem of America. Who believes that? So they didn't think that it's the white people who is the problem, because they are the ones who, enslaved black people and deprived them of everything. You see, because that assumption is based on prejudice, biases, and stereotypes. So this whole world largely actually is based on distance. This whole world, a lot of things that happen in the whole world is based on stereotypes, prejudice, and biases. Because it's a one-sided story, one-sided history, one-sided belief system. The same thing now is happening in churches. A lot of churches will not allow you to question anything. In fact, I think we have to write a whole book on all these teachings on Saturday. By all these series I'm doing now, we need to write a whole book on it. I mean, each one of them must be a book. Each one of them must be a book, because these things are so detailed. We should have each book talk about assumptions differently, another book to talk about questions, another book to talk about purpose in thinking, because that's just the only way to go about it, because so many things for me to tell you. So my decision for you and my recommendation for you to really help yourself get out of this kind of mindset, to help yourself set yourself free from the victim mentality, set yourself free from life of assumption and life of deception, is one of the things that we need to do to set ourselves free is to always question everything. Number 2, always practice identifying Look for assumptions. Look for your assumptions and identify them. The next thing you need to do is look for facts, evidence, data, statistics, truth to confirm or justify everything you stand for or believe in or do or even think. If you do that, you'll be a more human being than a biomass. Unfortunately, people who don't think, they are biomasses. And people who live by assumptions, they're just biomasses. They are not thinking. Are you ready with all your announcements? Okay. So most people are just biomasses. They don't think, they don't question anything, and it's a pity. So assumption is a bad thing. Well, I'm going to come back. I think Kate and Mayowa are going to make some announcements. Kate is going to make announcements about how to get a number of these broadcasts up so that we could invite more people. I think she's going to tell us what we're going to be doing about Instagram and about Facebook. And Mayowa is going to tell you about the testimonies and other things that every other person needs to do. I'm going to change because I'm wet now, and I'm going to come back to finish up the program. Please, Mayowa. I hope you got something. Please, while you are listening to Mayowa's announcement, write what you think about this station. Let's hear your opinion, then I'll come back and read your comments. Yep. Please sit down. Nobody is there now.
Hello everybody, how are you? I hope you enjoyed that. The announcements, as you know, okay, Pastor's out of here now. Pastor's birthday from the 28th of May. During May, he's going to have 1 month throughout May from the 1st to the end, live broadcast where you can ask personal questions. So we've asked for everyone to send their questions to us, and we've asked for the questions to be sent by the 28th of March, which is this month. I haven't received much questions. I gave you an email address that you can send your questions to, but I haven't received that much questions. So please start sending your questions. The more, the better. You're free to ask anything that, even personal questions, I'm sure Pastor would oblige. So this is an opportunity for you to ask anything that you want to know about Dr. Sunday Adelaja, or if you prefer, Pastor Sunday Adelaja. Secondly, we've also asked for testimonials. Thank you so much for all your beautiful testimonials that you've sent me so far, but we could do with more. We're sharing those testimonials on YouTube and also on the DSA TV. And, I can see that people are enjoying them. And also it's encouraging other people as well. So please send your testimonial. We've asked for the testimonial to be no more than 4 minutes. But we understand that people have a lot to say and they want to share their heartfelt regards to Pastor Sunday. So if it's longer, don't hesitate to send it, but we would just prefer if it's like 4 minutes, because we need to compile all of them and also feature them during his birthday. So if it's too long, we won't be able to compile too many because we only have like 24 hours in a day. But if it's at a set amount of time, we could compile, and more people would enjoy more testimonies. So continue to send your testimony. It would be great, how long it is, but please, if you try to make it 4 minutes, that would be fantastic. We also ask for suggestions, ideas for his birthday, because we want to include you in this birthday. We don't just want us here in Ukraine to plan everything that needs to happen. We know that you love him and you care about him. And if you have any suggestions, any ideas, please don't hesitate to send it to me. The email address is DSA50, DSAFIFTY@gmail.com. So the email address again is DSAFIFTY@gmail.com. So you can send all that to me. And if you have any suggestion at all on what we can do, please send it as soon as possible, because again, the planning process is already starting, and if you leave your suggestion to later, we might not be able to incorporate it, but we'll still like to hear from you now. So the sooner, again, the better. I think that's all my announcements for now. If I can remember anything, I'll tell Kate, or I'll come back and share it with you. But at least I've got the birthday part out of the way, because Pastor is not here, so the birthday part is out of the way. Thank you for listening to me. Kate is here.
Hello, my name is Katerina, and I'm here just to remind you what is our plan to invite people to this live broadcast. What you need to do is simply, we have an event in Facebook, so you simply have to invite your friends to the event. Once they are invited to the events, they will get a notification 1 hour before event starts and the time event starts. So they will get 2 automatic notifications if they will be interested, or they will select as going to event. So what is our target? In order to have 200 viewers in Facebook for live broadcast, we need to ensure that we invited 10,000 people, because we assume that we will have at least 400 people who will say that they are going to the event. Basically, based on the previous statistics, for example, last time we had 160 people who said they are going, and as a result, immediately when we started the live broadcast, it was 130 people online. So some people they say they are going, but they will, sometimes they are not able to join. So we have to have more people in this event saying that they are going, so that we have at least 200 people, because these messages are so important. No one should miss it. No one should miss it. People are living on assumptions, like 98% of people in the world maybe are living like this. We need to spread the word, and we need to give them understanding of this, and that's why we need to continue inviting people all the time. Don't afraid to repeat yourself. Don't afraid to do it multiple times. Don't think that you will be too much, notifying too much. Most of people, they don't pay attention to these notifications, because the life is so fast, everything is going on around, and they don't pay attention to this so much. So you need to repeat not 3 times, you need to repeat 5 times. You can repeat it every day, and only then you can expect that someone will see your notification and your invitation. So don't stop sharing, don't stop inviting people, continue doing it on daily basis. And one more thing I would like to ask you is, after this live broadcast, don't just relax. It's better to start it from the when we end the live broadcast. After this, you can start inviting people, and then we will have definitely the number of people that we need. So Pastor is here now. I'm giving him place, and please see the link that I will send you now in comments to share the invitation.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Well. So let me see what your thoughts are about today's teachings, and or maybe I should start. Maybe I should start with you people. You have any thought?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's ask Kate first what she thinks about today's teaching. What would you like to comment on this?
Well, first of all, I was shocked, Pastor, with some assumptions that the examples that you brought. Yeah.
No, it's normal. Yeah.
Like I know from my life which assumptions led me to not the life that I wanted. Yeah. Not like I assumed that something that if I will, let's say, marry early, I will be happy, or any other assumption. So I assumed if I will go abroad, I will be happy. Just what you said about people who are going abroad.
So these things happen to you, but you have to not just mention that if I marry, or I go abroad. Tell them what really happened.
Okay.
Not everybody knows your story.
Okay. I married 21 years old. And for our country, it was not too early for our country. Now I think I have married a child. I was a child, I was a child, and maybe I had to marry after 30. Maybe this is how I think now. But before, the assumption was that it's already it's getting late, little bit.
You didn't even think that time.
Yes, because
even when I met you, you were still not thinking very well.
Yes.
Talk less of that time. You were already 20-something.
Yes, I was, because I was still living on assumptions. So some assumptions they were not confirmed with life experience. So let's say I understood that getting married doesn't make you happy, but I didn't understand this mechanism about that you have to test assumptions. I couldn't understand this mechanism. I understood from my life that those decisions were not correct, and I understood that people were saying to me, friends around, they were saying that it's time, it's okay, 21 years old to be married. My mother married 21 years old, my grandmother, everyone is like this. So it's fine, and this is how I made my assumptions. But life proved me that it's not right. Life proved me that I had to get married when I understood who I am.
Yes.
And what I want in my life. Because now my husband
and when you start fulfilling that your calling.
Yes, because my husband now, he has to deal with that I understood. I understood who am I, what I want to do, and he has to deal now with it. He wanted to have a wife who just will cook, who will be next to him all the time, and like this. But I understood that I want to leave a footprint in this life, and I have to work hard towards it, and that's why I'm not able to do what he expects me to do. And because I made a decision 21 years old, I now understand it was based on assumptions.
Wrong assumptions.
Wrong assumption, yeah. And basically, I couldn't understand that there is a mechanism like this. But I started reading a book about thinking, the Russian book. I started to read 1.5 years ago, and I got the mechanism. I was not only reading this book, I was learning everything by heart. Like I was learning.
What book?
It is.
Somebody wrote it.
No, it's your book. It's in Russian.
Book?
Yeah, it's in Russian.
Okay.
The book. How to manage your thoughts, your inner world, etc. So I suddenly understood that I'm living like a dog,
Just like animals, like biomasses.
Yes. I suddenly understood that my life is not in my hands.
But why a dog? Why? What example? What does dog do?
Example is because I do have dogs, and I have a dog who gave me this example. I just bought that time puppy for my mother, and I took him out. And when I took him out, I noticed that he's reacting to everything. He's just throwing himself there where he sees something irritating him. Like he sees a butterfly, he will go there. He hears sound, he will go there. He reacts and he moves based on this.
So a dog or any animal only react to what is happening.
Yes.
So he's not having a purpose where he's going.
Yes, and
he's not having a goal.
It's not analyzing. Dog is not analyzing. Do I need this now? They cannot. They are a slave to their feelings. They are slaves.
But that's exactly how human beings also are living.
Yes, and the problem is that one time I was also reading the book about animals, zoopsychology, and I thought I'm reading about zoo psychology, and I thought I'm reading about people.
Wow.
Zoo psychology, I thought I'm reading about people.
Because people live also by instinct and feeling instead of living by Homo sapiens by design, by thoughts, and by wisdom.
So assumptions, if we take this example, and how do we tie it to assumptions? Assumptions
So
is
your
like...
dog helped you to understand that you are living like an animal, like a dog.
Yes. I just compared myself to what I saw as on this example, and I thought like, my God, but I am living the same way. I'm just reacting. Someone said something bad to me. My reaction is to protect myself. Someone did some mistake. My reaction is to respond the same. Or, for example, I don't feel like doing something that I have to do, and I just think, well, maybe it's not today. Just because I don't feel like it. Because this is where, when you live as an animal, you base your life on feelings, and you base your life on what instinct you have. And even many of us are suggested, like, listen to your heart and do whatever your heart tells you. You know what heart tells you? It's emotions. They are telling you not what is your goal about. This is what your heart tells you usually. And this is basically, this is assumption. We assume that we have to base our life on what our heart tells us. And this is
what we call heart is normally feeling.
Yeah, it's feeling. So this is living like a dog. The assumption is that to live a true life, you need to live like a dog. Finally,
but you don't know that it's like a dog. Because you are living by your feelings, by your assumptions.
Yes,
you think it's your heart,
and you think you are true to yourself. You think you're true to yourself. Because you don't understand the goal, you cannot take a decision based on analysis, evidence analysis. Proves. Yeah, you cannot analyze and think this will help your goal or not. This is what it will lead you to. You cannot even calculate these things. When you want to calculate what it will, this decision, what it will bring you to, you are not basing on facts. You are basing on assumptions that it has to work. Like I feel like this time it will work. It's like lottery. You buy lottery and you think, yes, this time it will work. I will win $1 million. And this is how we live. Like living on assumptions is like playing a lottery. And who was playing lottery, they know you never win. You never win if you live on assumptions. So this is. I was shocked by examples. And examples about some people who are trying to pass the law. And you know why I was shocked? Because I believe that they can pass this law. They can pass this law because...
What law?
The law about allowing only black women to make abortion, the law about paying women less. Yeah. I believe they can pass this law because 90% of people who are sitting there, they are not thinking.
They are not thinking, yeah.
They will think about this person, that this person has influence, and they will think that
he's right. He must be right.
The automatic thinking is like this: he is right because he's taking this position. So they don't challenge.
He should be right because he's the leader.
Yes.
He should be right because he's a big man.
Yeah, we need to listen to him. Yeah, we need to.
He knows what he's saying.
Yes, he knows what he's saying.
He's thinking.
And no one asks, did he do research? Even if I don't do research, like, okay, if he says this, did he do this research? Did he prepare himself to make this statement? You know, because even people who are big can make statements on their assumptions as well. So, and we cannot build our lives like this. And if we allow the society to live like this, they will pass the laws like this. They will pass, and we will be shocked how this happened. This happened.
That is why the people have passed the law also for homosexuals.
Yes, yes.
And we think, who passed? Who can that?
How could happen?
How could this happen? But it's happened because society doesn't think.
Yeah.
And they just assume that, oh, maybe they thought about it. Now, some people have passed the law that boys and girls can use the same toilet, the same restroom. Why? Because people don't think, and people don't challenge them. They don't stop them. They just, So when we don't think and we don't question things. When we don't question things, everything happens, everything goes.
Yes, everything goes out of our control, and we face things that we never wanted to face. Like, what is the mechanism to pass the law to go for the boys and girls to go to the same restroom? It's just that someone said that it shouldn't be like this, like it is now. Someone said it shouldn't be like it is now.
Someone just said it.
But this someone was a figure that his voice, his
authoritative.
yeah. And he said it one time. Then another people base their assumptions on mass media. So they said it few times on TV. So they build an assumption. Then they launched a campaign in social media. And then you see it from different, from many angles. You see this information, and you build an assumption, build your decision to support this, just because you have an assumption that if many people are talking about this, it means it's true. You know, one thing to describe to you how much dangerous is to live on assumption. I used to read one book of on marketing, and there was an example of when how someone has in the crowd, if someone has a heart attack, this person most probably will die. No one will help in the crowd. The reason it happens because when people are in the crowd, they will not move unless they see anyone moving, someone moving. So they will not they will not come to this person and ask, do you feel yourself bad? Are you not okay? They will
because nobody is doing it already.
Yes, because they need to see evidence that it is okay to do it. They need to have evidence because they don't think analytically. They don't see that person is, they don't even understand that person is falling. They see it falling, but they think, okay, maybe
he wants to be like that.
Yeah. If no one is coming to this person, it means it's okay.
Yes.
And this is how they base their decisions, and this person will die just because they base their decisions based on what other people doing. So the mechanism is working this way. Social media, mass media, someone who is authoritative says something, and we assume it's right. We don't like to be in minority. We don't like to be...
Okay, for example, let's even talk about something very simple. Getting a job when you finish university.
Yes.
Everybody is thinking that is the norm.
Yes.
Many people think it is normal to go to work and get a job and get salary. But you know, salary and job is a system of slavery. It's not the norm.
It's not the norm.
But
even when you say
the whole world would live in as if it is the norm now. Even when I say it's not the norm, people think I'm the one.
Yes, yes. Because when you say it's not the norm, it's like even changing something here. How it's not the norm? I thought I'm going out of the norm. When I don't have job. But finally I understood that if I don't have job, I'm not normalized. But finally I understood that I have to have my calling and I have to pursue my calling. Yes.
The norm is for you to fulfill your calling and your destiny, what God created you for. That is the norm. And God gave you work and skills. He packaged you from heaven with talent, with skills, with abilities, with gifts, just not for salary, not for job. No. He was not thinking job when he was in heaven.
Yeah, but there is a voice, very, very strong voice inside of many people that are saying, "What are you going to eat? You are not going to have this. You are not going because the assumption."
Because that is the way the Uncle Sam system, the world system, put it.
Yes.
So that you will be a slave again.
Yes.
Everybody working for salary and for job, it is because they fell under the Uncle Sam system of slavery. The idea is to make people it's somebody built that, not God.
Yeah, and
so that you will not eat, you will not, you all,
yes.
you not.
And the assumption is that I only can eat and have everything that I need if I go to work for money.
Yes,
right?
because the world system has built it such that like that. Uncle Sam has built it like that. That if you don't work for salary, you will not have something to eat. But you can get yourself out of that Uncle Sam system if you think. If you can
Yes.
think and then set yourself free and form your own system.
I was
That's
working...
why I wrote that book. When you read that book, don't stop working for Uncle Sam, you understand what I mean now. And everybody too. Everybody that reads that book, they will exactly see with facts and evidence that Uncle Sam's system, what we see now in the world as normal, is not the norm. That is not how things are supposed to be. It's not God who created the world this way. It's people who did it to put other people under bondage.
So someone had the idea, someone had a purpose, and they reached...
When the idea came was when it was illegal to do slavery.
Yes.
It is everybody was saying it's bad to have slaves. So we have to find another system.
Invented another system.
Yeah, so that everybody will now be enslaved without even knowing, because you do it willingly. It's you who want to eat.
You even ask for it. You're looking for it for years, and even there is
competition.
Even competition to become a slave.
To get a job.
Yes. And I'm having my business.
Sorry, I see many people have not shared the message. Please go ahead and share the message. Let's all go and share this message. If you have not yet shared this message, please go share it. You can share it look under your video. You'll be able to see a share button. Let's all go and share the video. Yes.
And definitely you will need to review it, so it will be in your timeline.
Yes.
I'm
starting your business.
I started my business now, and I'm having materials. I have support, financial support from this business, but I'm not rushing, to earn money. And I always have money, but I have changed the way I work. I serve people. I don't earn money.
Mm-hmm.
I serve people, and those people are always coming to me because they know I'm serving them, and they're ready to pay because they are grateful.
Yep.
And this is how it has to be. But I couldn't understand this system for 2 years. For 2 years, Pastor, I was even in condition that I couldn't wash my hair because I had no shampoo because no money. But I was not agreed to go into Uncle Sam's system again.
Amen.
Amen. So I was found in different ways, how to keep myself well. But I refused to go to Uncle Sam's system. And at the same time, I couldn't understand how the other system works. And it was difficult. But I was insisting on finding out how I can live normal life, pursue my goal, not to be in this system. Because the system, it uses you and it throws you out when you are sick, when you cannot give anything, like when you are tired, when you have problems. It just will throw you out. It will not support you. It supports you while you are young. It supports you while you are okay, strong, and you can give and give and give. But you give not to people directly. You're not serving to people directly. You're
serving a system.
You are serving a system, and that's the problem. And so 2 years it took me to change my mind. I couldn't understand how it works.
But because my book was not written that time.
Yes.
But now I've written many books. There will be series. I start with Stop Working for Uncle Sam. Then I will start with another one, Create Your Own Net Worth. Then I will do another one, Build Your Financial System. So all those 3 books will be like series.
So you will not need to go through 2 years of this thing like this.
Just read the books.
Because it's not easy to get out of this system, because we have already here a pre-built how do we make decisions? It's so many conditions are already inside that you cannot overcome this. It's so difficult. But if you see examples, if you understand how the process works, if you understand the mechanism, it's easy for you to identify where are the traps.
Yes.
Where are the traps? But now I can say that I'm free. from this system, but I went through the process, and I think that everyone will have to go through it. But you can be happy only when you are free.
From the Uncle Sam system.
Hello, it's Mayowa. What I've learned so far is the statement that Pastor made, that lowest form of thinking is assumption. And really that really struck me, because I think personally that I've been thinking on the lowest form. Even I actually think that many people, in combination with this teaching and his book, Who Am I think that both teachings and book, they've made me realize that even the person that I am now is an assumption person. It's not the real person that I am supposed to be, because a lot of the things that I did that made me who I am now are things that I based on assumption, So there's so many things, and they come in such a subtle way that we don't even realize that that's how we're living our life, on the lowest form of thinking, making assumption, even getting angry over something, without processing, why am I getting angry over this? Why is this thing bothering me so much? Because somebody else said it and somebody else got angry over it. You take your board and you can be angry at it without you thinking. Emotions is a key thing in this, where, we use our emotion, and we use the phrase that Kate mentioned just a while ago, that follow your heart. Why should you follow your heart without you processing that? It's not just anything that jump in your heart that you follow. You have to think about it. Why should I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? What's the point of it? What's the process? Where would it take me? And, everything that I've done all throughout my whole life, they've been based on assumption. Somebody said this pastor said this, or my mom said this, my dad said this, my sister said this. And, because also we trust and we love some people, whatever they say to us, we take it on board and we run with it. So really and truly, I really just want everybody now to start thinking about this in every subtle area in your life, in our lives, that we are thinking on the lowest form. I remember that there was a time that I wanted to cut my mom's nail, and it was in the evening, and she was saying to me that I shouldn't cut her nails, that it's not good to cut nails at night. So I was saying, what reason are you saying that you shouldn't cut nails at night?
Superstition.
Tradition is the lowest form of thinking as well.
Superstition.
Superstition as well. That's part of tradition. And I asked her that, why don't you want me to cut your nails? I said, no, it's bad. But then I said, Mom, wait, why is it bad? Tell me, what are the reasons? She said, somebody told her when she was young, and she took that on board. So whenever we have time in the evening to help her to cut her nails, we can't do it. We have to leave it to the following day. And what kind of life is that? And it's not just on that. I mean, I'm giving a very trivial example, but there's so many other things. People will tell me, when are you going to get married? And I will ask them the question, are you happy in your marriage? So they would kind of like, that's true. So I'm saying, why are you asking me to get married when you're not even happy? Or sometimes if I want to be nice, if the person is somebody that I respect, I would ask why. And the person, they can't even give me the reason that, why is it so important to you that I get married? Why is it, what am I going to marriage to do that I cannot do without being married? And they can't give me a good reason. People that are unhappy, that they talk trash about their marriage, they'll be telling other people that they have to get married because they're not thinking. They're making assumptions, because that's what you do. When you grow up, when you finish school, you started working, the next thing you should jump into is to get married. So there's so many things. And these emotions, we need to really deal with it. We need to deal with talking to people and, and all these people saying the things that because you love them, accepting what they said. Just because you love somebody doesn't mean that person is right. Just because you respect somebody doesn't mean that person is right. And we shouldn't be lazy, because we're very lazy people. We're not taking the things that we should do, process those information that we receive and investigate them until they become fact, and then make our decision on fact. rather than on, oh, my dad told me this, my mom said I should do this, my sister did this. I mean, sometimes as well, it's still an assumption, and it's still the lowest form of thinking. If somebody else did it and they were okay, just because somebody else did it and they were okay doesn't mean that if you do it, you'll be okay. Because you're a totally different person. You're different too. So if it works for somebody, it doesn't mean it will work for you. You have to look at your own life based on your own chemical, your own characteristics, your own virtue. If somebody else got married and they were successful in that marriage, it's because they had the virtue to hold it, or they have something to hold it. They prepared for it. And if you go and do it because everybody gets married, and you go and do it and you're not prepared, then another way of assuming that, that's what you should do because you're grown up enough to do it. And, it really beats me when other people as well, I've heard of I've seen so many families that they say, oh, in my family, we're all doctors. I'm thinking, are you all, even if you were all born 6 members of the family, they're all doctors and they're really proud of themselves. And I'm thinking, why are you all doctors? I mean, there must be something that you can be other than doctors, and you'll be more useful to society. Maybe one of you is a doctor, or you should be a doctor, but the rest of them, they're all miserable in their jobs. Even they have this job, they're doctors or they're lawyers. And that happens a lot in Nigeria, where all the family members, all the children, they're all one profession. And I'm thinking, could you really be the same, that you're all going, your desire one profession? Is because they've been told that in this family you all have to be doctors, you all have to be lawyers or whatever. So I'm really grateful for these lessons, and I'm going to start taking the cue. And the other thing as well is that people get offended when you don't accept what they say. So when they tell you something, or they give you a point, or they make a suggestion to you and you don't accept it and you go and think for yourself, people get offended. Let them get offended. It is your responsibility to take hold of the actions that you take, and you take hold of your mind as well. Don't be afraid because people will get upset because you're not following them, because you're not following the crowd, or you're not accepting what they're saying. And sometimes people say, don't you trust me? Don't you do this? It's not that I don't trust you, just because I've got sound mind and I need to verify. Yes, and I need to process what you said, and I need to verify before I make my own decision.
And if it applies to me or not.
Yes, and if exactly, I'm a different person from you, so it might not work for me. It happens a lot, especially in church. They'll tell you have to all do this, or you have to all pray or fast and do certain things. You don't need to do that. You just free yourself.
Let your spirit tell you what to do.
Yes, just free yourself now, knowing that you will be doing the right thing because you will verify it. You're responsible. God is just giving you sound mind, like more He's giving you sound mind, just like the person that think that they know what they're doing. So you can also process it with your sound mind without you having to take the decision of other people. So even whatever we're doing now, let's start looking at all the things that we've been doing and start cutting out all the things that we've been doing. Even cooking, something as simple as cooking. Do you know people cook in a certain way, in a certain order, because they've been taught, they made an assumption. And when you ask them, why are you putting this way? No, it has to be done like that. That's how it's been done. And you're wasting time. Ingredients and things that you need to put together, you don't. It's because, you have to put it after 10 minutes. Things as subtle as that, they're wasting your time, wasting your life. And your life is important. It's important to the person, to your creator that created you. So making an assumption is wasting your life. Making an assumption is depriving the world of who you're supposed to be, because you're following what everybody else is doing. Making an assumption is being emotional without you being real, without you being a personality. So let's cut it out. There's so many things we need to work on, but let's start working on them slowly. And also, it's not just about people telling us what to do. What we do to other people, where we make assumptions or when we make suggestions to other people, we need to also cut that out. It's not just one-sided, because we're talking about what we receive, that are assumptions, but what are the things that we actually give to other people? How we influence other people with an assumption. So it's not just one-sided; it's both-sided. We also do things to derail people as well. So, thank you for your time again. That's my. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, here we are. Well, I hope you've been blessed, all of you. Okay, some comments from Instagram. Let me see what people are saying here. My name, I am Sefer Soslo. My question is, how can I get the email address to Pastor Sunday?
I wrote.
Okay. My email address is already there, so it's pastor@godembassy.org. Frank Zion, Pastor Sunday, your post on Facebook give the impression that you are supporting President Trump, but I believe that you are too wise for believing that he is the one who will change America. Yeah, well, my post on Facebook is not done by me all the time. I have assistants, one of my assistants who really believes in Trump, so he's the one putting that in my name. But, yeah, you had my impression today, don't you? Frank said, the example you gave about your church here in America was great. That's how Christians are thinking here. Assumptions all the time, because he said prayers is expected great man, but what about facts? Yep. I believe you. I agree with you. John Salem says, God bless you, sir. Your lifestyle is so humbling. Wish all the great men and women of God stay in touch like you, sir. Thank you. Frank Zion, assumption is like a shortcut for people, so we won't go through the pain of thinking and finding out that we are wrong. I've been blessed for sure, from Texas. Thank you. That is Zion, Frank Zion. Okay, let's see now what Facebook people are writing. Akomolafe say, can man be out of assumption? No, assumption is normal. I've spoken about that already. It's normal to have an assumption, but you must verify it. You must verify it to see if the assumption is right or not. Okay. Favor Umaha, I'm so blessed. Life is based on principles and facts, not based on how you feel or people's opinion. Yep. Shioma is saying, Pastor, thanks for releasing this book, Uncle Sam. Nigeria is waiting for it. We need to make Nigeria and Africa free. Yep. Shioma, by the way, you could talk to your publishers in Nigeria. Maybe they would like to publish the book on Uncle Sam. Everybody is praising Mayowa here and Kate. Okay. Kel Z said the difficulty could be the breaking away from this culture of Uncle Sam, because people are so used to this and have become accustomed. They need help in starting to break away from it. Yeah, just like Kate said. And I'm going to write 3 books in the next few. I already have them written. I'm going to release 3 or 4 books that will help to break away from Uncle Sam's system. The first one will be Uncle Sam. The next one, I don't think it will be in this order, but 3 or 4 books will come that will help break out of the Uncle Sam system totally. Well, everybody, I think we've had a good time. My time is over for today. And thank you so very much. And expecting to see you next Saturday. Next Saturday, every Saturday we're here, so I will continue next Saturday. Thank you so much for your time. Let's go and share the message. Let's go and spread the word, and let's set our people free. God bless. Bye.